Welcome viewers, good morning to all of you, and I welcome you all to this NPTEL course on educational leadership. So, today we will be discussing about another topic, new topic, that is managing diversity and inclusion. So, primarily we will be discussing this topic in the context of education. Okay. So, managing diversity and inclusion. So, diversity and inclusion, we are very familiar with these two concepts, and India is the best example of diversity and how to maintain unity in the context of diversity as well. Hence, diversity and inclusion are the two sides of the same coin. So, when we talk about diversity, automatically the inclusion concept comes in, and diversity, how to encourage diversity, how to manage diversity, how to leverage diversity, at the same time how to incorporate inclusion also in our workplace, in our work culture, and in our education sector as well. So, these are the goals. So, now let us identify what are the goals of specific goals of diversity. So, while identifying the goals of diversity, we will come across so many issues and topics. Like for example, first of all, achieving a representative profile of staff and students. When we talk about educational institutions, colleges, universities, etc. So, when we talk about, it should be diversity friendly. So, definitely there should be well representation of the profile of all categories of staffs, students all across the country, all across the globe, having different backgrounds, like different cultural backgrounds, language, experiences, etc. So, here we encourage diversity among our students, among our staffs, having different profile, and they should represent different cultures and different strata of the society. Then ethnicity and socio-economic backgrounds also, this should also come from different diverse ethnic background, socio-economic background. Again, they are having the different attainments, previous experiences, prior attainments should not always be the intention of admission and recruitments. So, when we are giving them admissions or the recruitment for the jobs, etc. So, always their prior attainments or the work experience would not be the only criteria of giving them the admissions and the recruitment. Rather, they should be from a different socio-economic strata, different ethnic background, culture, different culture, etc. Again, so when we are again looking into the different criteria of admission and recruitment, etc., gender balance would also be maintained. Nowadays, we are talking about gender equality. We are also promoting the girls' education, women in the workforce, etc., to maintain that gender equality. So, gender balance should also be maintained. Then inclusion, to provide equal opportunity to all. So, here the concept why we emphasize on inclusion is that it should inclusion in the sense that it should give equal opportunity to all sections of people, equality in terms of resources, equality in terms of access, equal opportunity, then equal. So, equality in terms of not only gender, but also socioeconomic background, but also in terms of resources and opportunities, etc. So, inclusion to provide equal opportunity to all, each and every person, staff, student in the institution. The leaders' commitment to equality and justice for all. The leaders themselves, the leaders of educational institutions, colleges, universities, etc., they themselves should be committed to this equality and justice. That is, they should make their effort to provide them equal justice, equal resources, access to resources, opportunity to everybody. So, educational leaders should be free from any bias due to cognitive anxiety and ethnocentric stereotypes. So, educational leaders should be very much open minded, democratic in providing equal access, equal opportunity, equal justice to everybody, and they should not be biased due to cognitive anxiety and ethnocentric stereotypes. So, cognitive anxiety is also a kind of bias. So, and in that situation, that state, the person under cognitive anxiety thinks in a particular way and biased and become the victim of certain kind of circumstances where he tries to prove his beliefs, and verify that yes, whatever I thought about this situation, whatever I thought about these people, actually it is being proven as the correct. So, he should be free from that cognitive anxiety or the bias, and should not be the victim of ethnocentric stereotypes. We should not have, the leaders should not have any kind of ethnocentric stereotypes, in the sense that he should not have any kind of presumption and any kind of judgments regarding that this culture, the people from this culture or that ethnic background, this and that, they behave in that way, their mindset is like that, their characteristics is like that. So we should not, the leaders especially, they should not become the victim of any kind of cognitive anxiety or ethnocentric stereotypes. And moreover, the cultural awareness, here we say that we have the leaders especially, and all the, even the staff and the colleagues, etc., they have to enhance their cultural awareness. So here we can say they have to improve their socio-cultural intelligence. The cultural, how to enhance the cultural awareness, socio-cultural intelligence? There are various dimensions. There are various dimensions like individualism and collectivism. Every culture has some characteristics, like whether it is an individualistic society or collectivist society. Most of the Asian countries, including India, Japan, etc., these are the collectivist society, where we give more emphasis to the group dynamics, group unity, group togetherness, cooperation, etc., and joint effort. So that is the collectivism. And individualism is that the society which gives more importance to the individual achievements of the people, like the United States, most of the European countries or countries, they some of the, and especially US. So they have the individualistic society, that is they give more importance to the individuals success, failure, achievements, happiness, effort, etc. So when we go to join a job or do something, or we are going abroad for the academic higher academic studies, etc. So we suppose we are located, we are placed in different countries, etc. So we have to take into account their cultural perspectives dimension, like whether it is individualistic society or collectivist society. Similarly, uncertainty avoidance. Some of the cultures, people from some culture, they usually they don't want to take risks. So their risk taking behavior is very less, in the sense that they don't want to that means face, or they don't want to, that means tolerate the uncertainty. If they cannot calculate, if they cannot assume certain things, they don't want to take the risk. So that is called the uncertainty avoidance. To what extent the people are willing to or are ready to accept the uncertainty, so or to what extent they want to avoid it. So masculinity and femininity values. In some of the cultures, there are different roles, like we expect that, like for example in our culture, we expect that ladies should not stay more hours in the workplace, and they should spend equal time, and they should maintain the balance in the between family and the jobs, etc. So these kind of femininity roles we expect from our culture. Similarly, we expect that men they can spend more hours in the job office, because they are the bread earner, they have the liberty, and they can spend more hours in the workplace or in outside the home, etc. Whereas the ladies, they are supposed to take care of the family of the home, so hence they have to maintain the balance. Similarly, we have the gender role specific. Every culture, they have specific gender roles, specifications and the expectations from the people. Like for example, in some of the countries, the ladies are the women, they are the bread earners, and whereas the males, they take care of the household. And similarly, in some other cultures, it's just the opposite, like males are the bread earners, they go outside for the jobs, and the females are. So what is the role specification, gender role specification in a particular culture? It varies from culture to culture. Even within India also, we have different role specification in the east, northeast, south, west, etc. So, and again, time perception. How do we perceive time? Like in the West, the people are very particular about time. So if the meeting is supposed to start at 10 o'clock, it should be sharply at 10 o'clock. But whereas in other countries, and like in Asian countries, in some our time perception is that it is more important. It can be late, little half an hour late, and get started at 10:30. We don't mind it, but thing is that all the key resource persons or the members should be present. So we don't mind being late by half an hour, etc. in attending the meeting and or coming to the office, the workplace, etc. So that is our time perception. Again, it also varies from countries to countries and culture to culture. Similarly, cultural practices and rituals. Every culture, like Every culture, they have different cultural practices, beliefs, rituals, and religious practices also, and we have to take into account these dimensions as well. Then the culture's collective goals, and every culture again they have the collective goals, like it is not besides the individual goals, they have the collective goals, like as a country, as a people of the country, as a culture, what they want to achieve in the long run, what are their short term goals and what are the long term goals. Like maybe that in our culture, like we give more emphasis to the hospitality, or to how best we can greet our guests and hospitality, or maybe that for the spiritual development of our people. So what are our long term and the short term goals? So every culture, they have some collective goals, and we have to also understand these kind of things. So these are the various dimensions of the cultural awareness, and how to enhance our cultural awareness by coming across the different perspectives of different cultures and knowing more about their practices, their beliefs, their role specifications, etc. And in that way we can enhance our socio-cultural intelligence as well. Now, here our primary focus is on education sector. So managing diversity in the education sector. So India being a very diverse country, and we are having the different types of avenues, institutes, colleges, institutes, universities, etc. So there is large diversity even in the education sector itself. Now we will be discussing one by one what are these issues, what are these challenges, what are the, and how to deal with it, etc. So this topic primarily emphasizes on the how to manage the diversity in education sector and how to incorporate inclusion. So diversity in education represents a broad range of ideas and universities. So here diversity is not just confined to the cultural background, language, ethnicity, or your work experience, academic degrees, etc., etc., but different kinds of it is beyond those things, and it can be of different kinds of ideas, initiatives in to create the learning environments. So diversity, it includes everything and anything and everything. So it is not limited to only culture, language, and work experience or the academic degrees. And diversity in education, it means that we have to provide such a learning environment which are safe, inclusive, and equitable for as many identities as possible. So we have to ensure that the learning environments are very safe, it is inclusive, it can incorporate everybody, all kinds of students and staffs, and it is equitable in terms of resources, opportunities to accommodate n number of staff or the students or the people. And in this millennium, diversity has affected nearly every aspects of education. Again, this concept of diversity, after post globalization, this diversity has become very popular, and in this millennium it has affected every corner, every aspect of education, like access and equity in terms of access to education, equity, equal opportunity. Again, teaching methods also, diversity has also affected the teaching methods, pedagogical methods, student learning, their learning patterns, their ability, then quality of education. Then again management of educational institutions, then research priorities. Again, every institution, academic institution and university, they are having their research priorities. Social relevance, to what extent these academic programs and research practices are relevant socially, and the kind of autonomy and they enjoys autonomy and finance, all kinds of. So diversity has affected a number of issues and aspects in education. And then next, recognizing, fostering, and developing sensitivity to the needs of the people. So diversity, it emphasizes that with a large number of diversity, and which has affected to n number of issues and aspects of education. Now, how to recognize yes, diversity exists, in which area it exists, what is the range of diversity, and we have to foster the diversity, but at the same time we have to develop the sensitivity to the needs of the people, because we are different, and with the diversity people are different, people will be different not only with regard to their abilities, strengths, potentialities, etc., but with regard to their needs and expectations as well. So, but we have to develop that sensitivity to the needs of the people in various identity groups, if in an institution, academic institution or college or the university, people are from the diverse background, we have to take into account their individual needs, and we have to be very sensitive, and we try to cater to their needs, and are the primary aims of the educational diversity. Educational diversity advocates for being sensitive to the individual needs, or all kinds of people who stays or studies, resides in that campus, their individual needs, and catering to their needs in the campus life. Primarily, there are two types of diversity. If you can categorize it, there are two types of diversity. First one is the structural diversity, and the second one is the interactional diversity. So, the structural diversity refers to the numerical and proportional representation of the students from different ethnic and racial groups in the student population. So, for example, like in an university, our students are enrolled in different kinds of academic programs, both PG and UG and research, etc., etc. Now, what is the proportion of the seats, like how many what is the total number of seats, and what is the percentage we have distributed or we have kept aside for the different categories of the students, and not only in the discipline wise, but from the different socio-economic background, from the different ethnic background, from the cultural background. It again varies from institution to institution, like in some of the global universities and centers, it is open to all, to everybody from every country, provided they qualify a particular entrance examination. Whereas in some other institution, it is like proportionate in terms of giving number of seats to the regional people, national people, or international people, like the quota system, like 10% for the outsiders, 20% for the internal university students, or state students, or the regional students, etc. So, it depends on. So, structural diversity says that the numerical or the proportional representation of the students from all across the groups, all across the students community from the globe, like from different culture, from different country. Like, so we have, for example, we have the Jawaharlal Nehru University, we have the Delhi University, we have the we have this Nalanda University, we have some of the prominent universities where we give that means opportunity to all kinds of the students, from all across the globe, to get the admission and study over there. So, this is called the structural diversity, that is the proportion of the seats we have distributed among the students. The second type of diversity is characterized by the interaction that the students have with the difference. Like when the students are coming to the campus or to the university from the different culture, different background, different language, ethnic group, etc. So, it's diversity friendly, and in that particular context, that means the interactions among them, the interactions among the student community, the interactions among the staffs, etc. It will be definitely, it will be very fertile, very constructive, very positive. So, that is called the interactional diversity. That means the more diverse the features of the campus or the students category or the staff will be, the more interactions, the more diverse interactions will take place, and that is more that it encourages the interactional diversity, having the students having the different diverse ideas, information, as well as the interactions that they have with the diverse people. The more they interact with the diverse people from the different countries, different language, different ethnic background, etc., etc., their interactions will be more constructive, more fertile, more innovative, more diverse in terms of exchanging their views, ideas, opinions, information, etc., etc. So, structural diversity and the interactional diversity. The impact of each type of diversity is complementary and complemented to and enhanced by the presence of the other. So, here we can say about the structural diversity definitely encourages the interactional diversity. The more options, the more open it is, the university structure, student structure or structure of the admission is there, the more encouraging it is for the students, different students to get into, and the interaction will be more diverse. So, both the structural and interactional diversity are complementary to each other. Structural diversity is a necessary precursor for the diverse interactions to occur. If you give the opportunity to more and more different people, different students to come into your place, come into the university and study, so definitely it will encourage the interactional diversity. So, diverse ideas and the information emerge largely due to the presence and effects of the diverse people, definitely. So, the more and more diverse people will be present in the campus, in the institution. So, definitely the diverse ideas, diverse informations, diverse research, diverse ideas, diverse knowledge will be created. Now, here we will just have a look to this YouTube video, what it says about the diversity.
I really hope that this program can change many people.
If we change, everybody will change.
On behalf of the British Council, my pleasure to welcome you all to Brussels for our Inclusion and Diversity in Education event. This is a moment of real opportunity for you to tell people who are involved in making decisions in education what you want from your education systems.
Living in this world of diversity. Let's celebrate diversity.
All the countries have got a charter, and with that charter, we're going to discuss it together and trying to find one good charter.
No racism with anyone.
Yeah, you got to, respect is a big word, but you got to do that. You got to accept the culture that they has, or how they are. You got to accept them.
For everybody?
Like in a shorter way.
All chancellors are pretty much the same. So that's really fun, because you know that everyone has the same problem, so you can solve it together.
The ideas about culturally and diversity and what they do, thinking about immigration and what school can offer to them, and I hope this will be a great experience.
We have a different view on things. I think it's refreshing if they listen to someone my age.
I think they will listen to us as we are like the next generation.
A special welcome also to the young leaders who are here today with us from right across Europe.
And confidence in our own identity is a prerequisite for successful dialogue. And I really look forward to get your ideas, your proposals, your practical proposals to try to put this principle in practice. And again, congratulations to the pupils, to the teachers, and to the project itself. And good luck.
You can have these huge ideas, and sometimes it's very hard to put them into practice. But in this case, I think we can really go back home and start working with them immediately.
My first impressions are that students have done some really serious work of a kind that they would never normally do in the course of their normal schoolwork at the age of 14, 15.
I think today, when the kids gave the talk, you could see their passion, all the clapping and the celebration that went with it, and the enthusiasm of the students, I'm hoping, will infuse the MPs to do something.
The charter our kids, our children are taking very seriously, and that has come as a bit of a surprise because they thought it would be nice to come here, but it's only now that they're here that they realize that the points that they put into the charter will be actually followed up.
I can't think of a better project that I've been involved in this year in terms of professional development for myself as a head teacher, but also in the broader context of a challenging agenda for education back in school itself and working with the young people. And so, my thanks to the British Council for being involved. It's certainly been eye-opening for me.
I'm proud of myself, and I hope I can continue this experience because it's a very good experience.
It makes me feel proud actually to be able to carry this responsibility around representing the whole of England.
If you want to make the school better, more cultural diversity, they got to listen, got to listen, got to listen, got to listen, got to listen.
So, let us discuss about what are the outcomes of diversity. So, we will be discussing some of the research findings. Okay. So, three major types of outcomes that emerge from campus diversity. So, as a result of diversity in terms of structural diversity, in terms of interactional diversity. So, the campus diversity, it has three major outcomes. First one is the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes, as we have already discussed, as a result of active learning, students' engagement, students' motivation. So, what they have learned with this from these interactions. So, active learning processes in which the students become well involved while studying in colleges, in college. Then engagements, their engagements, learning engagements, their motivation, their academic skills they acquire, the intellectual abilities, the ideas, and the innovative ideas, the learning and refinement in their intellectual skills, the values they possess. So, all these are the our learning outcomes, or the outcome attribute learning outcomes of the diversity, campus diversity. That is the in terms of, first one is the in terms of learning outcome, what the students have gained out of this diversity in terms of their intellectual skills, learning abilities, academic skills, values, engagements, motivation, all kinds of things. The second one is the democracy outcomes. Democracy outcomes refer to the ways in which the higher education prepares the students to become involved as a active participant in the society. So, you can say the democracy outcome means it prepares the student as a global citizen. It is not just being Indian or being Japanese or being Chinese, etc., but democracy outcome it says that now, as a result of this diversity, the campus diversity, now the student they have become the global citizens. So, they can now very actively participate in any kind of the society, so in kind of the social issues, challenges, movements, etc., and becoming increasingly diverse, complex, and more socio-culturally aware. That is the democracy outcomes. So, three major categories of engagements, again as a result of this democracy, campus diversity, and as a part of the democracy outcomes, there are different categories of engagements. The three major categories of engagements, like the citizenship engagement, cultural engagement, and the compatibility of difference, that characterize the democracy outcome. So, to be very specific, the democracy outcomes, it elaborates three kinds of engagement, that is citizenship engagement, cultural engagement, and compatibility of difference. Now, let us discuss one by one. So, citizenship engagement refers to the students' interest in active participation in community social service and motivation in influencing the social and political order. So, now as because he has become a global citizen and he thinks himself to be a global citizen, so he has this responsibility and ownership, and he takes active interest and participate in all kinds of community affairs, social services, and motivating people to participate in the social activities, and he also he is also motivated to rectify the any kind of inaccuracies or the incorrect behavior in the social structure. So, he wants to address the social and political order to justify that and to bring the correctness, to bring the justice to all. So, that is called the citizenship engagement. As a global citizen, he wants to be engaged in all kinds of social and community services, and he wants to bring order in the social structure as well. Then the cultural engagement. Cultural engagement refers to the student's level of cultural awareness, as because he has interacted with diverse people from different ethnic and cultural background, language, etc. He has also enhanced his cultural awareness, and he wants to be engaged in different kinds of cultural activities. So, not only enhancing the cultural awareness and racial tolerance, etc., but also committed to promote the intercultural understanding and being a part of the different kinds of cultural practices, intercultural practices. So, As a part of the cultural engagement, his cultural awareness increases, his racial tolerance and commitment to promote the intercultural understanding also increases. Then compatibility of difference. So, in the context of diversity, in the campus diversity, definitely everybody is different. All of us, all the students, all the staff, everybody, all of them, they are different. So, there is a lot of difference. The range of diversity is very large. But again, even in that context also, we have the students have learned to be compatible to that differences. So, compatibility of difference refers to an understanding by the students that certain common values exist, even though that means even though we are from different background, different culture, different language, different thing and etc., but even then some basic values still exist, like we can say the human values, the universal values, human values exist. So that is the irrespective of differences among us, some common values, human values, universal values emerge, and the students, they understand that the values exist across the diverse ethnic groups. So, when we talk about the human values and the universal values, it exists in every diverse different group, ethnic group, and group conflict often can be constructive. And even though often we face different kinds of conflicts, and let us take it as a very positive and constructive conflict, and how to get the benefits out of it, like knowing more about their perspectives, their thought processes, their perceptions, etc. So, let us convert this group conflict to a very positive and constructive conflict, and it relates to the students' ability to live and work effectively in a diverse cultural setup. Now, with this now all kinds of MNCs, in multinational companies, they are hiring, recruiting the people from all across the globe of different countries, etc. So, the workplace everywhere is diverse. Now, the students will be able to able to learn about how to work effectively, collaboratively, cooperatively with all kinds of diverse people from different backgrounds in a diverse cultural setup. So, these are the three engagements of democracy outcomes: citizenship engagement, cultural engagement, and compatibility of differences. Thirdly, then again a process outcome is also there. Process outcomes measure the student satisfaction, perception of campus climate, and which reflect the ways in which the students perceive the diversity. So, as the students are living in the campus, having the wide range of diversity, so the campus diversity has, as a result of the process outcome, as a result of that some of the learning outcomes are there, but as a part of that campus diversity, the process outcomes, which says that ultimately it affects to the the students' lifestyle, their perception, their satisfaction, their their information processing, their outlook, that is the racial tolerance, their all kinds of. So, it strengthens their lifestyles, their enhances their outlooks, their perceptions. Then they become much more broad minded and enrich their thought process. So, that is the process outcomes can be measured in terms of student satisfaction, their outlook, their perception, and which has enriched their thought process. And the final outcome is that material benefit, like because they have already been exposed to different people and diverse work cultures. So, material benefit, like for example, you are a student of this global university, that global university, MIT and Oxford, Stanford, all these kinds of. So, it has, because it is the global branded institutions, etc. Definitely you will be getting a very good job. So, material benefit in terms of your pay package, salary, the brand, the company job, company job, and the perks, all kinds of things. That is the material benefit from attending the diverse colleges and universities, etc. And again, literature on the diversity and research evidence support the greater exposure to diversity leads to democracy outcomes. So, the more and more our students will be exposed to the diverse campus life, diverse college atmosphere, environment, diverse universities, diverse institutions, etc. So, definitely the democracy outcomes will be very high. Now, we will stop here. In the next class, we will discuss about the outcomes of diversity.